Welcome back to the spectroscopy session. We'll see 2-3 examples on the diene and enone chromophore. Then we'll also see what is that acyl benzene chromophore is, and at the end we'll see the application of UV spectroscopy in the structure elucidation. So the first compound is a diene chromophore. Now here you can see that either these two or these two would be diene. So naturally, if this is diene, then this is extended conjugation. Okay. So basic lambda max would be 215 for heteroannular diene, 30 is extended conjugation, then exocyclic bond. The central double bond is exocyclic to both the rings. So if I close it like this, it is exocyclic to B. If I do it the other way around, it is exocyclic to E. So 10 for exocyclic pi bond, and then the substituents you have to mark it 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 4 alkyl substituent, that is 4 groups you can say, or ring residues, and with all these increments you have to put the lambda max calculated for this molecule. So that becomes 245, 255, 275. Okay, now the second example, it is 5-membered enone. So basic lambda max has to be 202. Then in case of enone you have to mark alpha and beta. So 1 alpha substituent, 2 beta substituents. So 1 alpha, 2 beta, that is 24. Then extended conjugation is absent. The exocyclic bond, now this central bond is exocyclic to both the rings, so it has to be counted as 2, and then it has to be the summation. So 2, 2, 4, 6, then 4. This is lambda max calculated. Then looking at the last example, this is the chain carbonyl double bond. Now this methyl gem dimethyl has no significance here. Alpha, there will be one substituent, only this carbon, these two carbons are away, so they are not to be considered. This is 1, this is 1. So 215, because this is a cyclic ketone making the chromophore, the enone chromophore to be precise. 215, 1 alpha, 2 betas, exocyclic, there is no question because this double bond is endocyclic, and that has to be added together. And remember that this is also alpha, but that has not to be counted. Only the carbon which is having double bond and a part of which is a part of enone chromophore, that is to be counted. So it is 5, 4, 9, 4. This is lambda max calculated for the enone chromophore number 3. So in this way you have to do the exercises in exam. If it is a written exam, this kind of exercises would be definitely there. Okay, now the last chromophore, which is acyl benzene chromophore. Acyl group, that can be aldehyde. If X is equal to H, that is aldehyde. If X is equal to R, that is ketone, and if X is equal to OH, that is acid, and OR is ester. Accordingly, the basic lambda max values are there. And now these are some of the polar groups, and these are the increments which are caused by them. I'll just take one or two examples, because anyway this is not the part of syllabus, but just for the information purpose I am putting all those things. Let us say this is acetophenone and bromine is attached here. Like how to look at ortho meta para, that is what I wanted to tell. Now this is basic functional group. So with respect to this is ortho, meta, and this is para. Okay, so 246 is for aldehyde, for ketone, then ortho no substituent, meta no substituent, para bromo. So you have to look at bromo, that is para bromo substituent, then you have to just add, that is 261 nanometer. So this is relatively easy to calculate in case of ketones, esters, and so on. So you can easily do this. Only that information part I have wanted to share with you. So even acyl benzene chromophore can be studied, and you can have the numericals in the higher classes. In BSc I don't think any numerical would be there based on this. Now the next part is the applications. Now this is important, because applications of UV, there are say 4-5 applications are there. I'll just list them and then I'll put example for each. First is detection of functional group. Detection of functional group. Second is detection of extent of conjugation. Third is identification of unknown compound. Unknown compound, basically we call it as characterization, because if we don't know anything about the compound, then its UV or IR or NMR for that matter will be new, and it is a matter of characterization. Determination of configuration. Now configuration here we are talking about cis trans isomerism. I'll put some examples in that regard. And detection of purity. Now detection of purity is possible only when you are having authentic samples spectra. If authentic spectrum is there, you can put your spectrum, and if the spectrum is devoid of any additional peaks, then you can say that this compound is pure. The other methods are like HPLC, GC are there, and depending upon the nature of substrate you can choose the method. So foremost thing is detection of functional group. Now the functional group which can be detected by this method is the chromophoric groups. You can detect NO2, cyano, C double bond C, C triple bond C, and so on. So the basic requirement is all those groups must be capable of absorbing UV light themselves. Then and then the other things will be there: electronic excitations, absorptions, their recording of spectra, then study of the absorption maxima or lambda max, everything is possible provided your compound is carrying a chromophoric group, that is functional group. Then second is conjugation. Conjugation, the extent of conjugation you can study, you can go for the bathochromic shift and all if the conjugation is more and so on. So extent of conjugation can be studied. Then identification of unknown compound. If unknown compound is there and if certain absorption maximas or maxima is there, then you can predict that this may be having a conjugation either in the form of benzene ring or the other conjugation would be there, and you can get some partial information about the structure from the UV spectroscopy. And along with the higher spectroscopies like IR NMR, carbon 13 NMR and mass spectrometry, the exact structure of the compound can be predicted or it can determine. Then determination of configuration. Now cis trans isomerism you must have studied in lower classes. I will just put a few examples here regarding that cis trans isomerism. This is cis stilbene and the other compound I am putting as trans stilbene. Now their maxima are 278 and 294 respectively. Nanometers, of course, these are lambda max values pertaining to those compounds, and they are the values for pi star transition. Now in the first compound the value is less, in second compound the value is high. Now in first compound these two groups are in the proximity, so there will be a repulsion between the bulky groups, and that is causing the loss of planarity up to certain extent, and the pi star transition becomes more energetic, so lambda value is less. In this case the extent of conjugation is maximum because there are two bulky groups exactly in the opposite direction, and then that is a favorable situation where energy would be less and the lambda would be high. The other example is, this is cinnamic acid. Now this is cis, the other one I will draw, this is trans. So even this can be studied. Their values are 268 and 258 and 272 nanometers respectively. Trans has got higher lambda max, that is because the energy required for transition is less, and so on. The other example is azabenzene. So here also you can put the phenyl rings on one side or the other side. Accordingly there would be two isomers, one has got 285 and the other one is 319, 285 and 319. This is for cis and this is for trans. So in this case simply you can draw the rings. The other side would be the lone pair. So naturally this is cis conformer and cis isomer you can say, and if I draw phenyl ring here and lone pair there, it is going to be trans isomer and so on. So you can determine the cis trans configuration with this. And detection of purity, you need to have a authentic sample for the same, and you can determine the purity of the compound also. Okay. Now this is all about the UV spectroscopy. So just to recap, UV spectroscopy, wherein the electromagnetic light is absorbed, you get electronic transitions, and those transitions are useful because the wealth of information can be derived from it, and that can be used for the structure determination of organic compounds. So in the next lecture we'll start with the infrared spectroscopy, and once I start with that, we'll do basics, and then the application part, the numericals, UV-IR combined problems, and so on. So there are so many things to be done, but just in the beginning now, because some backlog exams are also going on alongside from the 10th of this month, so I'm doing few things little slowly here, because once the lot joins, the entire lot joins, then we can go ahead with greater speed, and we can revise the things once the maximum students join the sessions. That's all for today. Thank you very much for your concentration and patience hearing. Thank you.